Discover the heartwarming rescue, how he transformed his pregnant queen's life in 30 days. Jake, a 28-year-old carpenter in a tight-knit Ohio town, could feel the air shift the moment the phone rang. His heart raced as he answered, half expecting a routine call. But when he heard Emma's voice, the faint tremble in her words, everything came crashing down. "I'm pregnant, Jake." The weight of those words clutched his chest, pulling him back to hazy memories of laughter shared under starlit skies, of dreams slowly drifting apart. Emma's family was struggling, facing the grim reality of losing their beloved bakery, the place that had once been the heart of their community. Bakery smells drifted like comforting ghosts, memories of happiness now overshadowed by looming fear. As he listened, he could almost see them there, Emma covered in flour, smiling bright, filling pastries with love. But those days felt far away now. His mind swirled as teeth clenched tight, a cocktail of emotions swirling: anger, sadness, a deep-seated urge to help. "You're not alone, Emma. I'll find a way," he promised, though doubt clawed at him. Days turned into nights, and amidst the thump of his hammer and the creaking of wood, he juggled jobs to support and brainstorm plans that could save her family's bakery. His hands, rough and calloused, ached, but with each 2x4 he cut, a new idea formed, threaded with hope. The town buzzed with empathy. Bakers from the local guilds swarmed to help, sharing recipes like lifelines. Mothers volunteered for a baby shower, sewing diapers and knitting blankets, surrounding Emma with a quilt of support, the community rallying together. A warmth enveloped Jake as he watched, the kind of warmth that illuminated the darkest nights. But just as he dared to dream, a letter arrived that shook their fragile hope. The landlord had decided to raise the rent. Fear swept through the town, whispers ricocheted like echoes of despair. Jake felt anger bubbling within him, a fire igniting against unfairness. This was more than just about a bakery. It was about community, family, and love threatened by superficial greed. In the thick of it all, he realized something profound. His love for Emma had transformed. It was deeper, heavier, forged in fire and anxiety, yet somehow it sparkled with resilience. This American dream he had once envisioned as solo, it was now forged together. Tension tightened between them as they prepared for a critical town hall meeting. Willing hearts surrounded them, but they faced slipping sands of time. As they entered, the weight of their risks culminated. The landlord stood, arms folded. His voice dripped with disdain as he revealed potential buyers' faces that would erase everything familiar. Jake clenched Emma's hand tighter, feeling the hope and fear intertwine. What if they lost everything? A quiet murmur rippled through the room, eyes darting to him, waiting for leadership born from desperation. In this moment, Jake faced a choice: continue the fight for their community or back down in the face of overwhelming odds. His heart raced, but he gripped Emma's hand, the love between them deepening as they prepared to face whatever came next. The meeting hall buzzed with tension, a mix of worry and anger pressing down on the crowd. Names were called, voices raised, but Jake felt frozen as he took in the sights and sounds around him. Emma stood beside him, her eyes shimmering with determination, yet tinged with fear. For the first time, he realized how much was at stake. It wasn't just about a bakery or even their community. This was about their future, about the family they were heading towards. Just as another resident stood to speak up, the landlord's voice cut through the murmur. "Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your passion, but let us be clear, this bakery can't survive with the current rent. Times are changing, and so must this establishment." His words rang hollow, a bleak reminder that profit often mattered more than people. Jake's heart thudded heavily in his chest. The thought of Emma's family losing everything was unbearable. Without thinking, he took a step forward, feeling a collective gaze pressing on him. "We are not just a business," he began, his voice surprisingly steady. "The bakery is woven into the fabric of our lives. It's where we gather, where memories are made, and where love is baked into every pie and loaf." A few nods in the crowd gave him a tiny spark of hope. He pressed on. "This place isn't just a building. It's a home for so many. We cannot let it go." His words hung in the air, charged with emotion. He glanced at Emma, whose face softened as she listened, her belief in him shining through. "Why should we let greed win?" He continued, emboldened. "This land belongs to all of us. It's our responsibility to fight for it." The murmurs grew louder, energy shifting as people began finding their voices. A wave of unity washed over the room, fueled by shared memories of buttery croissants and warm coffee on chilly mornings. Emma's grip tightened around his arm. "You're doing great," she whispered, her encouragement like a lifeline. Every eye in the hall seemed glued to him now, waiting. As he spoke, Jake saw hope flickering to life in their expressions. He knew that they were all fighting alongside him. "If we band together, we can propose a fair deal to the landlord, a community-supported plan that allows the bakery to thrive while respecting the bond we share." A rumble of agreement spread through the audience. Jake felt the weight of their empathy and determination lift him. Flashes of that little bakery filled his mind. Children laughing, the smell of fresh pastries wafting through the air, families celebrating milestones, everything he wanted to hold on to. But just then, the landlord sneered, "And why would I listen to you? You're just a carpenter." The crowd fell silent, the landlord's derision a swift gust threatening to extinguish their flame of hope. Jake's mind raced. What could he say that would turn the tide? He could feel eyes on him, expecting something more, a solution, a breakthrough. Because he began, taking a deep breath, "I believe in family. I believe in community. And I know that together, we are stronger than any one name on a lease." A surge of applause erupted unexpectedly behind him. Families began to stand, one after another, voices raised in solidarity. The landlord's expression soured, emboldened. Jake seized the moment. "Together, we can show you just how much this bakery means to us. We'll raise the funds, we'll work nights, we'll organize events. We won't let this heart of our community slip away." The words poured from him, igniting flames of passion among the townsfolk. And in those heated moments, amidst cheers and flying emotions, a realization crashed over him. The fight was about more than just keeping a bakery alive. It was a testament to resilience, love, and family. Would their hopes and efforts be enough to create change? Would the community answer the call as one? As he looked around, he felt truth in every heartbeat echoing in the room. But would that be enough to face the landlord's stubbornness? A powerful question loomed, hanging like the sweet scent of baked goods in the air. Could they truly save what mattered most? Before time ran out? The applause resonated around Jake like thunder, a wave of powerful emotion crashing against the daunting walls of doubt. He could feel the energy shifting, the determination was palpable. People weren't just standing, they were rallying. He looked over to Emma, and for a split second, time stood still. Her eyes danced with joy, and the fear that had been etched on her face faded just a little. But that moment was fleeting as the landlord's cold snicker broke through the air. "Intentions are one thing, but actions are another. What can you really deliver?" His voice dripped with skepticism, but Jake sensed the crowd was already igniting like kindling. "Actions speak louder than words," Jake shot back, the conviction in his voice reverberating through the hall. "Let us organize. We can host bake sales, community dinners, and even a festival. We'll show our commitment." Each word unraveled like a thread, weaving the emotions of the crowd tighter together. "You really think that would change anything?" The landlord sneered, trying to undermine the hope building in the room. "Don't you dare underestimate us." Someone shouted from the back, igniting a fire that spread like wildfire through the crowd. "We are more than just patrons, we're family." And just like that, the collective strength of the community roared to life. Ideas began to fly: rummage sales, weekly farmers markets, a crowdfunding campaign. Laughter mixed with shouts of enthusiasm, and before long, they were no longer just talking about saving a bakery, they were crafting an entire movement. As people exchanged numbers and plans, Jake felt a surge of resilience course through him. He clasped Emma's hand tightly, both of them buoyed by the energy swirling around them. She offered him a small, warm smile, and he couldn't help but smile back. In this moment, they were not just fighting for a bakery. They were fighting for something much greater, a sense of belonging. But then, as the evening wore on, Jake's heart came crashing down as reality pricked the balloon of excitement. What if it's not enough? He whispered to Emma, concern creeping into his voice. The exuberance of the crowd struck a stark contrast to his rising worry. What if the landlord is too far gone? Emma squeezed his hand tighter, grounding him. We can't think like that. We're not just fighting for what we want, we're fighting for what we need. We are the heart of this community, Jake. Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth. He looked around the hall, taking in the faces of their neighbors, the mothers, fathers, kids, the elderly. Each one of them had hopes and dreams tied to the bakery. Each one of them shared a piece of themselves in every loaf, every pastry. The meeting wrapped up with renewed energy, commitments made, and phone numbers exchanged. Jake and Emma stood together at the center of the room, watching as families began to leave, chatting with a spark of camaraderie, but just as they turned to leave, the landlord's voice cut through the clamor. Good luck with your little plan. Just remember, I hold all the cards. Jake turned back, fury rising within him. Just remember, we'll fight for this. You win. This community is stronger than your greed. As they walked out into the cool night air, Jake felt a knot of anticipation in his stomach. The path ahead was uncertain, and despite their plans, doubt lingered like a specter in the shadows. Would their dreams blend seamlessly into reality, or would they fade away under the weight of the landlord's power? With one look at Emma, the determination ignited once more. They had only just begun. What would their first step be? The bake sale, the festival? How would they rally the community? The fight was just starting. Jake and Emma huddled between the flickering lights of street lamps as they made their way home. The night was brisk, the kind that sent chills down their spines and reminded them of the heat of the earlier meeting. The excitement, the shared hopes flickering in the air, felt fresh, but also dangerously fragile, like a candle flame in the wind. Let's start with the bake sale, Emma suggested, her voice steady, but her eyes reflecting uncertainty. It's something straightforward that everyone can contribute to. Yeah, Jake replied, scratching his head. But we need a solid plan. I mean, where do we host it? We can't count on the landlord to just let us use the bakery. She stopped and turned to him, determination flooding over her features. We'll find a place. The park, maybe? There's the old community center. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a space to bring people together. He felt something shift within him at her words. Her conviction resonated with him. You're right. We need to start small and then build up from there. He took a deep breath, soaking in that feeling of possibility. But as they walked, the comforting glow of unity turned their thoughts darker. Jake's mind raced with images of the landlord's mocking grin, echoing with the doubt that churned relentlessly inside him. What if nobody shows up? He mused, the weight of uncertainty pressing down. Emma paused, her expression softening. What if they do? What if we raise enough money, or even just make enough noise to get people's attention? This is our chance to show everyone that we're serious. She was right. Jake felt the flicker of hope begin to glow stronger. Let us set a date then. Tomorrow we can go to the park and talk to people. We can get opinions on what they want to contribute, maybe even gather supplies. Yes, we can use social media to boost interest and spread the word, Emma added eagerly. She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. As they walked the last few blocks to Jake's apartment, excitement bubbled between them. The day ahead brimmed with potential. The strong bond between them didn't just stem from the shared fight for their community. It became a powerful force that propelled them forward. Later that night, surrounded by takeout containers and notes filled with ideas, they laid out their plan. What about games? Jake suggested, drawing a rough sketch of a fun fair going on in his mind. If we keep it family-friendly, it'll draw in a crowd. Absolutely. Pie-eating contests, the bake-off. We could even have some local musicians play. Emma's enthusiasm was contagious. They tossed around ideas until their laughter filled the small space, mixing with the scent of stir-fried noodles in the air. The next morning, the sun peeked through the windows as they gathered at the park, clipboard in hand. Neighbors filtered in, some carrying their kids, others bringing homemade goods, while curious faces assembled around them, ready to pitch in ideas. As the community buzzed with conversation, Jake felt a burgeoning sense of belonging. This was more than just a bake sale. It was a declaration of their commitment, but in the back of his mind, Jake still worried. Would they really be able to gather enough support? Was it enough to change the landlord's heart, or would he still loom over them, a shadow just waiting to snap back? That nagging question lingered like a shadow at the edge of his mind as he strategized with Emma, the crowd growing ever larger. Just when the momentum hit its peak, an unexpected voice cut through. The landlord's unmistakable figure loomed in the distance. "What are you doing here?" Jake's heart raced, anger flaring up. He braced himself for the challenge ahead, knowing that this fight was far from over. Would the community stand their ground in the face of adversity? The real battle was just beginning. Jake's pulse quickened as he locked eyes with the landlord, a man whose mere presence threatened to dampen the burgeoning spirit of the crowd. The landlord strolled closer, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his overcoat, a smug grin plastered on his face despite the chilling air. "What are you doing, Jake?" The landlord's voice dripped with skepticism. "You think this little bake sale is going to change anything? This place is mine, and I'll do what I want with it." The murmurs from the crowd grew uncertain, like the gusts of wind that rustled the leaves above. Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He couldn't let this man break the hope that had started to shimmer like a beacon amongst them. Emma stepped in front of Jake, her posture tall, her determination palpable. "We're not just selling baked goods. We're building a community." Her words sliced through the tension, igniting a flicker of inspiration among their neighbors. "We're family, and together we can stand up for our home." Jake could sense the momentum shifting as people began to nod in agreement. The landlord's expression morphed, annoyance flashing in his eyes as he surveyed the collective spirit gathering around them. "You think they care about your little bake sale? This isn't a fairy tale," he scoffed, but Jake felt that fairy tale tug at him. He believed in it, in their ability to create something bigger than themselves. He glanced at Emma, who held his gaze, her eyes burning with conviction. It was that spark that began to spread through the crowd. He took a step forward, fueled by her bravery. "Actually, it is a fairy tale," Jake countered, finding his voice steady and clear. "One where we take back what's ours. We're not rolling over. This place matters to us, and we won't let you ruin it." Gasps of surprise rippled through the audience, followed by murmurs of encouragement. Jake could see neighbors shifting forward, animated and ready to embrace this fight. The landlord remained, defiantly planted, but Jake could tell the winds of change were shifting in their favor. The landlord paused, the confidence in his demeanor faltering for just a moment. "You think you can make waves? You think I'm scared of this little patch of grass and your cardboard signs?" But his voice had lost its earlier bravado, now laced with doubt. The crowd began to chant, their voices rising in unison. "This is our home. This is our home." The claps and cheers echoed off the surrounding trees, an affirmation of their resolve. Jake felt electric. He'd expected fear, hesitance, but instead, warmth spread through him, his heart bursting with pride for the community that stood by them. As he glanced at Emma, her smile radiated hope. Just then, a woman stepped forward, her hands trembling. "I've lived here for over 20 years. This community raised my children when I had no one. I'll bake 20 pies if it means saving our place." Her voice shook, but the passion was undeniable. Before Jake could respond, Emma jumped in. "We'll make it a contest then. Let us see who can bake the best pie. Everyone can enter." Laughter erupted, and the ice was broken. The landlord's eyes darkened, and he took a step back, frustration etched against his features. But Jake could see the cracks beginning to form. This fight was far from over, but tonight felt different. They were no longer just two voices. Together, they were a chorus. As the bake sale meeting wrapped up with plans being scribbled down and excitement buzzing in the air, Jake realized they had ignited something far more powerful than he could have imagined. But would the landlord retaliate? What desperate measures would he take to silence them? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jake gathered with Emma, both energized and hopeful. They still had a long road ahead, but now they faced it together with the community by their side. Little did he know, the landlord had an ace up his sleeve. What would it be? The next morning, the sun peeked through the window, casting a warm glow in Jake's small kitchen. He brewed coffee, the rich aroma filling the air and helping to thaw the remnants of the previous night's tension. Emma had stayed over, crashing on the couch after they had spent hours discussing strategies, plans, and potential pie recipes. The fight was just beginning, and the energy of the previous night still buzzed between them like an electric current. Jake glanced over at Emma, who was flipping through a notebook filled with ideas and sketches. There was something magical about seeing her so committed. She was filled with a mix of hope and determination, and it ignited a fire in him too. "What do you think about doing a Meet the Baker segment for the bake sale?" he suggested, grinning. "It's perfect," Emma replied, her eyes lighting up. "We can have everyone share their favorite recipe and stories while they bake. It'll bring the community closer together." As they mapped out the details, excitement grew. They were crafting a plan, their little rebellion against the looming threat of the landlord becoming a beacon for the neighborhood. But in the back of Jake's mind, he couldn't shake the feeling of anxiety creeping back in. He couldn't ignore the landlord's earlier threats. What would he do next? While they wrestled with pastries and promotional flyers, the doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Jenkins, a sweet, elderly woman who lived 2 doors down. Her face broke into a wide smile, revealing an array of wrinkles that told stories of resilience. "I heard about your bake sale," she said, holding a large basket filled with freshly baked cookies. "I wanted to contribute. This is my special recipe." Jake felt his heart swell. Each gesture, each contribution from neighbors, was a reminder of what they were fighting for. "Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins. These are beautiful," he exclaimed, accepting the basket with gratitude. As the reactions of support trickled in, Jake's confidence began to solidify. But the shadow of the landlord still loomed. What if he resorted to more underhanded tactics? Just as he'd harbored his own worries, Emma too seemed reflective, her smile temporarily faltering. "Did you notice how tense he was last night?" she asked softly, setting the cookies aside. "What if he tries to cancel our permits or sabotages our sale?" Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice steady. "Whatever he throws at us, we'll handle it together. We're stronger as a community. And besides, we have Mrs. Jenkins' cookies now." Emma chuckled, but her eyes betrayed a depth of concern. "You promise we'll protect this place?" "I promise," he said. Assurance blossomed within him, and he realized it wasn't just words, but a commitment to fight alongside her, alongside everyone who believed in what they were doing. As they returned to their planning, they couldn't have known that the landlord was busy plotting from his office, fingers crossed over his desk, mapping out ways to undermine their efforts. The stakes were rising and the battle lines were drawn. That afternoon, as Jake handed flyers to neighbors, he felt the hope and fear mingle within him. Would this bake sale bring them together or drive a wedge between them and the landlord? It felt like standing on a precipice, the outcome teetering precariously. With each echoing voice of support playing in his mind, Jake knew they had to stand up and face the unexpected. They were more than just a neighborhood now, they were warriors in a fight for their home, and just then, a loud crash echoed from the back alley, a sound that shattered the afternoon calm. Jake's heart raced. What was happening now? As he raced to investigate, one question loomed heavily in the air. Was the landlord finally making his move? Jake dashed through the back door, adrenaline coursing through him. The vibrant summer light turned into a blur as he rounded the corner, ready to confront whatever chaos awaited him. His mind was racing with fears the landlord's wrath, a broken window, or worse. The sight that greeted him was unexpected. A group of kids from the neighborhood had gathered, peering over the edge of an overturned trash can, stifling giggles and gasps. One kid, Toby, knelt beside it, his freckled face bright with mischief. "What is going on?" Jake asked, still catching his breath. Toby looked up, his blue eyes wide, as he replied, "We were just playing. But then a raccoon jumped out and scared us." Jake smiled, relief washing over him. "You scared me," he said, chuckling at the unexpected turn. "But let us not scare the raccoons too much, all right?" As he helped the kids right the trash can, he noticed the laughter was infectious. Their carefree energy reminded him of the good in the community. It was moments like this that made the struggle against the landlord feel worthwhile. Just then, a voice rang out, pulling him back from his thoughts. It was Emma, standing at the door, her hands planted on her hips. "Jake, I thought you'd gone to check on trouble, not to babysit." "Hey, it's all in a day's work," he said with a smirk, gesturing to the group. These kids were just having some fun until they were scared by a furry bandit. Emma laughed, the tension in her face easing a bit. "Well, I'm glad it's not the landlord trying to tear things apart, at least, not yet." A silence hung heavily between them, laced with unspoken worries. The playful sounds of the children faded into the background as Jake turned serious. "I know we're supposed to focus on the bake sale, but what if he really does try something? I mean, we're putting everything we have into this, Emma." Emma's expression shifted. She stepped closer, fear flickering in her eyes. "We have to believe in this, Jake. For the sake of our friends, our neighbors. They need this sale just as much as we do." He saw the determination in her gaze, the same spark he'd witnessed in the planning sessions, and the warmth of Mrs. Jenkins' cookies. They were fighting not just for their homes, but for each other. A wave of focus surged within him. "Right. We can't back down now," Jake said, feeling a surge of camaraderie. The kids moved away, still chattering about the raccoon incident, and Jake and Emma watched them, letting the moment settle in. "Maybe we should reach out to more neighbors, get everyone on board," Emma suggested, returning to their thoughts. "If we show them what we can do together, the landlord won't stand a chance." Jake nodded, invigorated. "Let us start with Mrs. Jenkins. She's our secret weapon." As they walked back toward the kitchen, the sound of laughter and excitement filled the air again. Yet the ominous shadow of the landlord still loomed in their minds. That evening, while they worked on a flyer to send out, the doorbell rang once more. It was Mrs. Jenkins again, but this time, she had more than cookies to share. Jake felt a flicker of anticipation. What if it was an answer to their unasked questions, a sign that they might not have to fight alone this time? As he opened the door, his heart raced. What would Mrs. Jenkins reveal? Would it be the push they needed, or something completely unforeseen? Mrs. Jenkins stood at the threshold, a weathered smile spread across her face. In the crook of her arm rested a bundle of flyers, their edges curling slightly, as if they had been lovingly pressed together on her kitchen table. Jake's heart quickened. "Evening, Jake." "Emma," she exclaimed, her voice warm like the setting sun. "I couldn't help but think of the bake sale today, especially after hearing about all the trouble with the landlord." "Mrs. Jenkins." Jake welcomed her with open arms, and she stepped inside, carrying not just the flyers, but an energy that seemed to light up the dim kitchen. "Did you bring the flyers you made?" "Of course." She placed them on the table, revealing not just a colorful design adorned with cupcakes and prices, but a powerful message: "Together we rise." "Wow, this is amazing," Emma said, her eyes sparkling. "You've captured the spirit we're aiming for." "They're gorgeous, Mrs. Jenkins," Jake added, scanning the flyers with renewed excitement. "We need to hand these out as soon as possible." As they spoke, Mrs. Jenkins' demeanor shifted from cheerful to serious. "I also have something else." Her voice dropped, and a hint of concern filled the air. "Word is getting around that the landlord might be planning something. I heard from Mr. Vance down the street that he's been making some odd phone calls." Fingers froze above the flyers. The laughter from the children seemed to evaporate, replaced by the hostility of impending conflict. "What kind of calls?" Jake asked, his stomach knotted tight. "Mrs. Jenkins leaned in, lowering her voice as if she were sharing a secret. "I don't know the details, but he's not happy about the bake sale. I think he might want to push back harder than before." Jake exchanged a glance with Emma, the weight of her words sinking in. "What are we going to do?" he questioned, his bravado slipping in the face of uncertainty. "First, we keep moving forward with the bake sale. It's bringing people together, and it's a powerful statement," Mrs. Jenkins insisted, her unwavering spirit rising to the occasion. "Second, we need to gather our neighbors. There's strength in numbers, and we can't let him intimidate us." "But what if he tries something drastic?" Jake felt sweat trickle down his back. "What if we lose everything?" Sometimes you have to fight for what matters, Emma chimed in, squeezing Jake's arm. We've already built something special here. We can't let fear rule us. The determination in Emma's eyes kindled a fire within him. He could feel it. This was more than just a bake sale. It was their stand against darkness. All right, he said, eyeing the flyers. We'll spread the word tonight. We'll gather the neighbors and show the landlord that we won't back down. Mrs. Jenkins nodded in agreement, pride lighting up her face. That's my boy. As they worked out the plan, laughter slowly returned to the kitchen. The chatter of preparing for the sale, the smell of Mrs. Jenkins' cookies, and the whispers of resolve filled the air once more. But the thought of the looming threat still nagged at Jake's mind. As they finalized every detail, a tension hung palpably. Would they really be able to stand together against the landlord's intimidation? Then, just as Jake was about to voice his concerns, his phone buzzed ominously on the counter. A new message flashed across the screen, and his heart sank. It was from an unknown number, but it carried a clear threat. Jake's breath caught in his throat. What was the landlord planning now? He exchanged glances with Emma and Mrs. Jenkins, dread settling in. They couldn't ignore this. They were in deeper than they had expected, and the fight was far from over. What would their response be? Jake felt the weight of their destiny hanging by a thread, and the answer awaited him just beyond the door. Would he have the courage to face what came next? Jake's heart raced as he stared at the ominous message on his phone. The words twisted in his mind like a thorn, each letter pricking at his resolve. He felt a lump rise in his throat, and he couldn't shake the sense of impending doom that hung over them like storm clouds. Emma reached over and gently placed her hand on his arm. Jake, what does it say? Her voice was a soothing balm, grounding him in that moment. He swallowed hard, hesitating. It's from the landlord. He's not happy about the bake sale. He wants to make sure we know that. Mrs. Jenkins stepped closer, her boundless energy momentarily dimmed. What are the exact words? Taking a deep breath, Jake read the message aloud. Don't think a bake sale will change things. If you and your friends keep stepping out of line, there will be consequences. Silence enveloped the room. The weight of those words pressed heavily on their hearts. Jake's mind raced. Were they really going to face consequences? Was he putting Emma, Mrs. Jenkins, and everyone else at risk with their plans? Emma's grip tightened on his arm, her eyes fierce. We can't let him intimidate us, Jake. This is our home, and we have to stand up for it. But what if he actually does something? What if he tries to scare people away? He felt his optimism begin to wane. Mrs. Jenkins spoke up, her voice steady and deliberate. Fear is all he has. If we let it control us, we've already lost. But if we come together, families, friends, the whole neighborhood, we can show him he won to win. Jake looked at the flyers scattered across the table. Together we rise. He could almost hear a heartbeat in that phrase, a pulse of hope. Okay, let us do this. We'll gather everyone for a meeting tonight and tell them what's happening. Emma nodded, her brow furrowed with determination. We'll need to be prepared for anything. Let us spread the word and show them the strength we have. As the three of them made plans, Jake couldn't shake the unease within him. They could rally the neighborhood, but what if it wasn't enough? The unknown loomed large, and it was hard to predict how far the landlord might go. After exchanging ideas and laying groundwork, Mrs. Jenkins suddenly glanced out the window. Speaking of the unknown, she said, her expression shifting to one of surprise, I think someone is coming. Jake turned, peering through the glass. His heartbeat quickened again. An unfamiliar car was parked outside, its engine still humming. Do you think it's the landlord? He asked. No idea, Emma replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But whoever it is, I don't like the look of it. They all stepped toward the window, eyes fixed on the scene unfolding outside. A tall figure emerged from the vehicle, silhouetted against the setting sun. Jake strained to get a better look, the pulse of apprehension racing through him. Let us go outside, he finally said, his tone riddled with uncertainty. We need to know who this is. As all three of them headed toward the door, shadows closed in around Jake, whispering warnings. He felt a sense of gravity in the air. Things were about to take a turn. What did this unexpected visitor mean for their plans? Would they be friend or a foe in this battle that was only just beginning? Jake could feel the weight of destiny bearing down on him again, pressing him forward into the unknown. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he stepped outside, the cool evening breeze doing little to calm his rising anxiety. The figure that emerged from the car was tall, dressed in a dark suit that looked far too polished against the background of their little town. Something about the way he carried himself confident, assertive sent shivers down Jake's spine. Was this the landlord's enforcer, or worse? "Who are you?" Jake called out, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. Emma and Mrs. Jenkins flanked him, their expressions hardened by determination. The man approached, a tight-lipped smile revealing nothing. "I'm here on behalf of the landlord." Jake felt his stomach twist. What does he want? "Let us not waste time," the man said, his tone polite but chilling. "You've caused a stir with this bake sale nonsense. It's only going to make things harder for your community." "Harder?" Emma interrupted, stepping boldly forward. "We're building hope and strength. This isn't nonsense, it's our lives." The man shrugged, unimpressed. "It's just a bake sale, and nobody in the high-stakes world cares about baked goods. The landlord is serious. He will retaliate if this continues." Jake felt heat rise within him, the protective instincts for Emma and their neighbors surging. "What kind of retaliation?" "We want to back down." With a flick of his wrist, the man revealed a folded paper, sliding it toward them. "This is just a warning. If your little movement doesn't fizzle out soon, there may be repercussions. You're risking everything by defying the landlord." Jake snatched the paper, his hands trembling. There it was, written in stark black ink, a notice of legal action, threatening eviction of any business associated with the bake sale. The words felt like a punch to his gut. He glanced back at Emma and Mrs. Jenkins, who were visibly shaken, but held their ground. "Take this as a final piece of advice," the man continued, his voice like ice. "You'd best put a stop to this before it's too late." With that, he turned and got back into his car, the engine rumbling to life. The weight of the moment pressed down around them like a thick fog. "What now?" Emma's voice was a whisper, laced with fear. "Now we fight," Jake replied, his voice steadying. "We're not going to let him intimidate us. This isn't just about a bakery anymore. It's about our homes, our families. We need to rally everyone and show that we will not back down." Mrs. Jenkins nodded firmly, her spirit undeterred. "Let us gather everyone tonight and turn fear into action. We can't let this stand." That night, as neighbors filled Jake's small apartment, tension simmered in the air. Laughter and support mingled with apprehension. They shared ideas, bake sale strategies, community treats, activities, anything that could pull them together. Jake watched as faces lit up with passion, fueled by the drive to save what mattered most to them. "Let us push back," Emma said, her voice booming with confidence. "This isn't just a bake sale. It's a stand for our home, our families, fighting against greed." Murmurs of agreement surged across the room, and the energy swelled, giving Jake hope. But he also felt the unease creeping in, a gentle nagging reminder of the threats still looming. What if they really do follow through? Someone asked, their voice trembling. What if we can't win? Jake took a deep breath, linking eyes with Emma. "We can win," he said, each word a promise. "If we stand together, we're unstoppable. This community isn't just a group of houses, it's family." The crowd erupted in cheers, emboldened. They broke into action, crafting flyers, brainstorming fundraising ideas, and organizing a community rally to not only gather for the bake sale, but to make a statement together. Days passed, and tension mounted. As the date for the bake sale drew closer, Jake felt the pressure of the landlord's threat sit heavy on his shoulders. But as they set up in the park, a sense of unity vibrated through the crowd. Families arrived with baked goods cradled in their arms, laughter filling the air as children ran wild, the sweet smell of pastries wafting all around. Jake's spirit soared. He watched as Emma animatedly engaged with their neighbors, her laughter brightening the tense atmosphere. The sense of hope coalesced into something powerful. Just as the festivities reached their peak, a chill drifted through the park. He glanced towards the entrance, his heart sinking. The landlord stood at the edge, arms folded, surveying the scene with his trademark scowl. The cheer momentarily quieted as gazes turned toward him. "Jake," Emma whispered, watching him with concern. As the landlord stepped forward, his presence felt like the eye of a storm. "You do realize that all this is in vain," he declared, voice dripping with disdain. "You think you can stand up to me?" Ignoring the intensity of his words, Jake stepped forward, fists clenched. "This community isn't just a business. It's families. Your move only solidifies our resolve." The landlord's expression darkened. "We'll see about that." With a heart pounding like a drum, Jake turned back to the crowd of supporters, ready to inspire them. "Whatever happens, we are in this together. We won't let this bakery and all it represents slip away." Cheers erupted, a passionate roar of unity. And in that vast sea of pride, Jake realized the fight wasn't just about saving a bakery. It was igniting the spirit of a community and cementing what family truly means. In that moment of defiance, amidst the tension and unknown, he felt the weight lifting. They were strong, resilient, and love would shine through the storm. As the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over the crowd, Jake held his breath, ready to face whatever the landlord might throw next, knowing that together they would rise above the shadows. The bakery wouldn't just stay open, it would bloom as a beacon of hope. And whatever the outcome, he felt, somehow, they'd never be defeated, as long as they stood together. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that bring us together. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. You need to be part of this.